Hi everybody, I'm Missi Matthews, he's Bob Pompeani, and welcome to the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. It is a short week for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we are going to rewind back just to yesterday to talk about their 18-16 win over the Baltimore Ravens. We knew that this matchup, you always throw the records out, the stats, everything, and that proved to be exactly what yesterday was.
But I still didn't expect 18-16. I just thought for some reason both these offenses have been cranking Missi and we would see more points. But then again, the Steelers defense does what it always does. It figures out Lamar Jackson better than any team in the NFL, and they did again yesterday. That team came in so hot offensively. Number one in just about every statistical category, so it was the number one scoring offense against the number two overall Pittsburgh defense, and the defense won it out again.
They did, and I think, the Steelers' defense being able to create those turnovers because Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals, which could have changed the game in favor of the Ravens. But for the Steelers' defense to step up when the Steelers' offense wasn't able to get things going and find the end zone.
There's no question. They did a very good job, for the most part, containing Lamar Jackson in the pocket, didn't let him get to where he likes to do and run, putting pressure on him, and that pressure comes from up front. Those defensive line guys have done a very good job, which creates opportunities down the field for others. Even
just, the Cam Haywards and Dean Lowrys of the world batting down those passes in the locker room as we were getting post-game interviews. Coach Tomlin said, to Dean, hey, welcome to the rivalry. We appreciate you. Thanks for your contributions today. And it was a chance for a lot of new guys, including even rookie Peyton Wilson, to get their first taste and also to make an impact.
They did, and Mike Tomlin had told us that last press conference, Missi, where he said, who's going to be this year's Isaac Red Zone Redmond, right? Somebody come out of nowhere and make a contribution, one that will last forever. You see Dean Lowry here making his name known in this rivalry, but that's what it takes. And you had Wilson, you also had Herbeck, and you had Patrick Queen. I can't imagine he felt anything but tremendous after stripping that ball away from Isaiah Likely, especially because where it happened, right deep in their own territory, which set up 3 points. I don't think many people the Steelers would get.
Yeah, it was great to see for him going against his former team. He kind of told the world this week that the Ravens never offered him a contract to come back. I think that's why as soon as he signed here in Pittsburgh, he made it very clear he wanted to play the villain in this rivalry moving forward, playing on obviously the Steelers side, but for him and Deshaun Elliott, former Ravens both, to be able to keep level-headed enough, even after the first turnover happened, the defensive guys on the sideline were calm. They celebrated it quickly, but then it was back to business because they knew that this was going to be, as Coach calls it, a rock'em sock'em fight. And what happened in the first quarter would not matter when you got to the fourth.
And looking at that Peyton Wilson interception, it reminds me of how last week of practice, you watch these guys, they do go over these kind of scenarios. There are a lot of scenarios at play. One of the things they like to do with Justice Hill is put him out there in open field, see if a linebacker can keep up with him. Of all the linebackers they have, he's probably the fastest in going back. And for him to take the ball away, though, I mean, come on. That doesn't happen very often. I think 5 years ago, the Steelers.com put out Devin Bush taking the ball away from I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Mark Andrews. Down the field, somebody, similar kind of situation. So ball awareness is very important. That was a big-time play.
And as Coach said and Cam said after the game, Cam Hayward, integrating yourself into this rivalry. Peyton Wilson did that knowing that he was going to be picked on yesterday by Lamar Jackson and had a chance to make a play. And as we said, you had to watch the replay and watch it again just to see how he actually ended up with the football.
Well, it's funny because I think as you took a look at it, it looks like Hill has it. But those guys on the sideline, I saw their reaction, and I'm wondering, okay, where is the ball? Because from where we were seated, you can't really see the ball. All of a sudden, Peyton Wilson knew it. Look at that reaction. He knew immediately. And sometimes that's all you have to do is see a player react to know that, yeah, he took it away.
What was going through your head when the Ravens were able to get that late touchdown and they were lining up to go for 2 to tie the game and potentially send us all into overtime?
Well, I figured myself, I thought they would spread the field out a little bit and give Lamar Jackson room to operate. And I think Mike Tomlin, with that first time out, he sensed what was going to happen because they started to run that play, and they've in the past used that little jump pass thing that he does, and he thought that was what they were calling up. And I think whatever happened, John Harbaugh then changed his mind, and I don't know what that play was, to be honest with you. He was going to run it. but I also don't know what they were trying to do here. There were no receivers in that area where he was going, so if he's trying to run it, that's the worst possible run play, but a good play by Joey Porter Jr.
No doubt, and I think the timeout did help because Grady Brown, the secondary coach, went out there and told Joey Porter to like stay and do your job, do exactly what you think you're supposed to do, and that ended up working out. It was weird, you know, Derrick Henry wasn't out on the field, and who knows, no one from the Ravens side post-game would say what exactly it was supposed to be and what went wrong.
But if you notice too, there's 1:06 left on the clock, and they had timeout. So it was incumbent upon the Steelers then to put the game away and not let them have it, because even though Justin Tucker had missed 2, he's certainly capable from 60 yards. And if you give him, if they get a 3 and out and they get the ball back, all of a sudden one pass play, you're in field goal range. But that's when Justin Fields entered the game, and I thought that was also something very interesting, and we had waited for it, and that was a good time to use him.
Yeah, and you saw it a little bit earlier in the game as well, but luckily Najee Harris able to get that first down because, as you said, Justin Tucker missed those 2 early field goals, but then the one he did make was 50-some. Yeah. So, as you said, you're reaching that territory where you don't want to have to chance it.
No, and that brings us to Chris Boswell, right? What can you say about him?
Not enough.
Not enough, because he's Special Teams Player of the Week, I'm sure, again, and every time he has an opportunity, the guy is so focused on what he's doing, and his kicks are so pure. That's the one thing about it. Doesn't matter. 3 of them were over 50 yards yesterday, right down the middle all the time. So he's in a groove right now, and what an asset, because we saw all these other kickers miss, not just Tucker, but McPherson for Cincinnati cost them a game. These are big kicks, money time kicks.
29 field goals in 10 games so far for Chris Boswell, and kicked 6 in Atlanta for the win in week 1. Did it again. A 3rd time in his career he's kicked and made 6 field goals in a game. Only player in NFL history.
How about that? You don't like that from a standpoint you're not scoring enough touchdowns. I'm sure Mike Tomlin will use that to his advantage during this week of preparation.
Right. But Boz wants nothing to do with the humble brag. He was actually, I think, a little angry when reporters went over to talk to him post-game and said, don't you want to talk to like Corliss Waitman or somebody? But he did talk.
Waitman is, that's another name. You don't hear much about him, which is good, because that means he's punting the ball well. There are no shanks. And field position, we talked about it earlier, that field position's big on those kinds of games. You want to make it as difficult as possible for them to drive the football down the field.
All right, no doubt. And it is a short week, a divisional opponent on tap. Thursday night football, heading to Cleveland to face the Browns. And then it's Cincinnati, and then it's the Browns again. So this 4-game mashup of 20-some days, all divisional opponents, finally we're seeing AFC North play.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the season, Missi, I don't know about you, but I thought maybe that's too much crammed into the end of the season. Now that it's here, it's kind of good, and we'll see a lot of the Browns here, but make no mistake, at 2-8, they still can be dangerous. I think people sometimes look at that and say, but the point spread is only 4, which tells you that people are mindful of the fact that they can, play a good game, especially at home. We saw them beat the Ravens at home, so anything's possible. As a coach, I'm sure that's the first thing Mike Tomlin will address with this team, especially some of the younger players.
No doubt. Not a lot of sleep here in Pittsburgh, but that's okay. Thursday night football coming your way. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. For Bob Pompeani, I'm Missi Matthews. We'll see everybody following the Browns game.